23 years driving these streets. I thought I had seen everything. Drunks crying in the back seat, couples fighting on the way to the airport, people running away, people coming back, people saying goodbye forever. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for that Tuesday dawn. 3:15 in the morning, light rain, city asleep. I was waiting for any random fare when he appeared around the corner, police uniform soaked, hands shaking, eyes desperate. He got into the cab without showing a badge, just pointed at the black sedan 3 cars ahead and said, "Follow that car, don't lose it." It wasn't an order, it was a plea. And when he finally told me who was inside that vehicle, my heart stopped. Because this wasn't a normal police chase. It was a father racing against time to save his 16-year-old daughter. And me? I was his only chance. What happened that night changed my life forever. This is the story. The rain started exactly at midnight. Thin, steady, the kind that turns the city into a dark mirror. I was parked at the corner of Riverside and Franklin, engine running, heater on low, waiting for someone, anyone, who needed to go somewhere at that cursed hour of the night. 23 years driving these streets. I learned that after 2 in the morning, whoever gets in a cab brings a story with them. Sometimes it's simple. A drunk heading home, a nurse getting off shift, a kid running away from a fight. But some nights the story is heavier. Some nights the story changes you. This was one of those nights. 3:15 in the morning. He emerged from the corner like he'd stepped out of a noir movie. Police uniform drenched, hat dripping water. But what caught my attention wasn't his clothes. It was the way he looked at the cab. Pure desperation. As if I were the last piece of wood keeping him from drowning. He got in the back seat without asking, slammed the door, and pointed forward. "Follow that car, the black sedan. 3 cars ahead. Don't lose it." He didn't show a badge. Didn't say please. His voice was an order disguised as a plea. "You okay, officer?" I asked, adjusting the rear-view mirror to see his face. But he looked away, eyes locked on the sedan. Silence. Only the sound of the wipers slicing through the rain. Only the low rumble of the engine. Only his breathing. Heavy, uneven. I started driving, slowly, keeping distance. The black sedan was an old Chevy, license plate blurred by the rain. 2 people inside, from what I could see. Maybe 3. "How long have you been following that car?" I tried again, carefully, like handling broken glass. He closed his eyes. His hands trembled on his knees. 3 days, he said quietly. 3 days searching. I didn't understand. Not yet. But I felt something shift in the air, as if the weight of what was coming was already in the back seat with us, breathing the same air. We drove down Martin Luther King Boulevard, sleeping neighborhood, stores closed, the red neon of a cheap motel flickering in puddles on the sidewalk. The whole city looked abandoned, like only the 3 of us, me, him, and whoever was in that sedan, existed in that moment. The sedan turned left. I followed. My heart started racing, and I didn't even know why. We turned onto Industrial Avenue, a wide and empty street running through the warehouse district. On the left, abandoned warehouses with broken windows. On the right, the Willamette River reflecting the bridge lights in the distance. The sedan slowed down. I slowed too. "She's in that car," he suddenly whispered, his voice cracking. "My daughter, 16. I looked in the mirror. He was hunched forward, elbows on his knees, hands covering his face. "She ran away 3 days ago, left a note saying she was going to live her life, that we didn't understand, that she was happy now." He gave a bitter, humorless laugh. Happy. With someone 40 years older than her, with a record for drug trafficking. Happy. My throat tightened. I thought of my own daughter, 22 now, studying nursing in Portland. I thought of all the nights I stayed awake when she was a teenager, waiting for her to come home. The fear that never leaves you, even when they grow up. "How'd you find out where she was?" She posted a photo yesterday, on Instagram, a dumpy motel near the airport. In the background there was a green sign with the name. Took me 3 hours to find the place. When I got there, they were already gone. but a woman at the front desk said she saw them get into a black Chevy. He looked at me, and his eyes were red. I drove around the city all night. Found the car at a gas station. I didn't have a patrol car, didn't have my badge. I was going to lose them again if I didn't find a way to follow without being seen. Why didn't you call backup? He slowly shook his head. Because if I show up in a patrol car with sirens with other officers, he runs, and she goes with him, by choice. His voice broke again. She's not kidnapped, you understand? She thinks she's in love. She'll defend him. She'll hate me even more. I understood everything in that moment. It wasn't a rescue. It was a father trying to bring back a daughter who didn't want to be brought back. A man holding the pieces of his own heart in both hands, not knowing if he could put them together again. The sedan parked in an empty lot near the pier. Old wooden structure, burned out lamps. Smell of dead fish drifting from the river. Lights off. Silence. I parked the cab 100 meters away. Engine running. What are you gonna do? I asked. He took a deep breath, opened the door slowly, looked at me one last time. If I don't come back in 5 minutes, call 911. Tell them Sergeant David Coleman needs help. Can you do that? I nodded. He stepped out, and I stayed there, alone in the darkness, watching him walk toward the car where his daughter was. Under the rain, under the night, under the weight of everything a father carries. I saw him walk toward the sedan. Slow, deliberate steps. Not like a cop. Like a father picking up his daughter from school, trying to look calm while falling apart inside. He tapped on the rear window. Nothing happened for 3-4 seconds. My heart was pounding so loud I swore the sound filled the whole cab. Then the door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, skinny gray hair tied back in a filthy ponytail. Tattoos on his arms. Tank top despite the cold. He looked at Sergeant Coleman and gave a crooked smile, the kind that says, "I knew you'd show up." I couldn't hear what they were saying. They were too far, but I could read the body language. The man gesturing, pointing at his own chest, laughing. The sergeant standing still, rigid, hands at his sides, trying to control himself. Then she stepped out of the car. Small, way too thin. A hoodie 3 sizes bigger than her body. Messy blonde hair falling over her face. She looked at her father and didn't run to him. She just stood there, arms crossed, chin up, defiant. My God. She was 16 and already had that look. That look kids get when they think they know everything. When they think the world out there is cruel, but the love they found is real. I'd seen that look before. On my niece. On my neighbor's daughter. On so many girls wandering these streets at night, thinking they're living a romance when they're really falling into an abyss. The sergeant took a step toward her. She took a step back. He stopped, raised his hands slowly as if surrendering, and began to talk. I couldn't hear him, but I could see he was begging. Not with anger, with love, with pure desperation. The 40-year-old man placed his hand on her shoulder, possessive, claiming territory, and the sergeant saw it. I saw his body tense. I saw his hand move instinctively toward his waist where his gun should have been, but he wasn't armed. For a moment, I thought everything would fall apart, that violence would erupt right there in that deserted parking lot under the rain. But that's not what happened. The sergeant took another step, then another, and stood right in front of his daughter. So close she had to raise her head to look at him, and he began to cry. A 6'2" man, police uniform, broad shoulders, big hands, crying in front of his teenage daughter. No shame, no hiding. I saw her waver, saw her crossed arms loosen, saw her chin drop, and then she collapsed. She fell into his arms like a little child, and she cried too, sobbing hard, clinging to her father's chest while he held her as if she might disappear any second. The 40-year-old man stepped back, then again, got into the car, started the engine, and drove away. Just like that. I sat there, hands on the steering wheel, tears running down my face before I even noticed. I don't know how much time passed. 2 minutes? 10? Time seemed frozen in that parking lot. The sergeant held his daughter. She held him back. The rain fell on both of them, but neither seemed to care, as if that embrace were the only real thing in the world. Finally, he guided her back to the cab, opened the door. She climbed in slowly, eyes red, face swollen. She sat in the back seat, curled into a corner. He got in on the other side. I looked in the mirror. Hospital? Precinct? The sergeant shook his head. Home. Just take us home. I pulled out, left that cursed place behind. Drove back up Industrial, turned onto Broadway, then into the quiet residential streets of northeast Portland. Small houses, fenced yards, porch lights on. No one said a word the whole ride, but the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that comes after a storm, after the destruction passes and you're still processing the fact that you survived. I stopped in front of a small one-story house with a pink bicycle in the garage. Light on in the living room. Someone waiting. How much do I owe you? The sergeant asked, reaching for his wallet. Nothing, I said. You don't owe me anything. He looked at me, and for the first time that night, I saw something other than desperation on his face. Gratitude, relief, pure humanity. Thank you, he said, for everything, for staying, for not driving away. I have a daughter too, I replied. I'd have done the same. He nodded, opened the door, helped the girl out. She was stumbling a little, exhausted, broken, but she was there. She was alive. She was home. Before shutting the door, she looked at me. Too young, too old. Her eyes said things her mouth couldn't. Shame, fear, relief. Thank you, she whispered. And then they walked up the steps. The front door opened. A woman appeared, the mother, I assumed, and collapsed when she saw her daughter. The three of them melted into an embrace in the doorway. I stayed there one more minute, watching, bearing witness. Then I put the car in gear and drove back into the night. I drove aimlessly for a while. I couldn't go back to the taxi stand. Not yet. I needed to process what had just happened. I stopped on a bridge over the river, turned off the engine, stepped out of the cab. The rain had stopped. The sky was beginning to lighten on the horizon. That grayish-blue shade that comes right before sunrise. The city was silent. Only the distant sound of a freight train. The river running below. The cold wind carrying the scent of wet earth. I thought about all the rides I'd given in these 23 years. Thousands, tens of thousands. I'd taken people to hospitals, funerals, airports, parties, disasters, joys. I always thought my job was just to drive. Take someone from point A to point B. Collect the money, move on. But it's not just that, I realized that morning. Sometimes we're in the right place at the right time for a reason. Sometimes we're the bridge between someone lost and their way home. Sometimes witnessing is enough. That sergeant could have grabbed another cab. That girl could have never been found. That 40-year-old man could have reacted with violence. 1,000 things could have gone wrong, but they didn't. That night, under the rain, under the darkness, in the back seat of an old beat-up yellow cab, a small miracle happened. A daughter came home. A father held the pieces of his own heart and managed to put them back together. And I was there, witnessing it. I got back into the cab, started the engine. The radio crackled. Any taxi available in the downtown area? I grabbed the radio. Cab 47 here, I'm on my way. Because that's what we do. We keep going. We drive. We witness. We carry people's stories, even when they don't know we're carrying them. I drove off the bridge, the first lights of dawn touching the buildings in the distance, the city waking up slowly, bakeries opening, garbage trucks on their routes, lone joggers on the sidewalks, and somewhere in northeast Portland, in a small house with a pink bicycle in the garage, a family was together again, broken but together, hurt but alive. I wasn't going to forget that night. I wasn't going to forget that father's face. I wasn't going to forget the hug. I wasn't going to forget the small girl collapsing into his arms as if she were 5 years old again. Because there are things the night keeps. Secrets only the dark hours witness. Miracles that happen when no one is watching. Except us, the taxi drivers. The ones who drive through the darkness. The ones who carry strangers from one side of the city to the other, and sometimes, without realizing it, carry their souls too. I kept going. The city was waiting, and I was ready for the next story.